UN and Australian leaders plead for the lives of the Bali Nine, and Japan considers ending its currency swap with South Korea. Plus, bird flu cases are on the rise in China, and scientists say North Korea may have already conducted its fourth test. For Monday, the 16th of February 2015, this is the Asia Brief. Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott pleaded with Indonesia to issue clemency for two death row convicts. Speaking to reporters in Sydney, the Prime Minister said, quote, "Millions of Australians are feeling very, very upset about what may soon happen to two Australians in Indonesia. And my plea, even at this late stage, is for Indonesia to be as responsive to us as it expects other countries to be to them when they plead for the life of their citizens on death row overseas." End quote. Australian media reported that there are 360 Indonesians on death row around the world, including countries like Malaysia, Singapore, China, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar, with 230 of these on drug charges. United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon also pleaded for their lives and spoke with Indonesia's foreign minister to, quote, express his concern at the recent application of capital punishment in Indonesia, end quote. UN spokesman Stefan Dujarric said, quote, the United Nations opposes the death penalty under all circumstances, end quote. The two Australians are sentenced to death by firing squad, an act that could take place as early as this week. Abbott warned of stern diplomatic responses should Indonesia carry out the executions. Japan has a $10 billion currency swap agreement with South Korea, and it could be coming to an end. As relations continue to sour on the 50th anniversary of the two nations reestablishing formal ties, the deal, which was launched in 2001 to help each other cope with any financial crisis, will expire on February 23rd. Reuters News spoke to an unidentified source saying Japan plans not to extend the pact unless South Korea sends us a request. The current number of humans diagnosed with H7N9 avian flu has risen to 50 in China's Guangdong province. A 45-year-old man from Meijiang district in Meijiao was diagnosed with the disease Friday. He was in critical condition, the Provincial Health and Family Planning Commission said in a press release. According to the agency, bird flu is most likely to strike in winter and spring. In Guangdong province, the avian flu has infected people in 15 of 21 prefecture-level cities, resulting in 12 fatalities. We found patients who took oseltamivir on the first day they had flu-like symptoms often recovered quickly, while those who waited until the seventh day often ended up on the critical list, said He Jianfeng, a chief specialist with the Provincial Disease Prevention and Control Center. Health authorities have demanded hospitals to stockpile the medicine. Other cities, including Shanghai, have also reported human infections of the H7N9 strain. It's widely suspected that North Korea will attempt another nuclear test. It's often being called the fourth such test, with the third taking place in February of 2013, sparking off a wave of tension on the Korean peninsula. However, several scientists have alleged that the reclusive nation may have actually conducted a secret nuclear test in 2010, and the explosion may have gone unnoticed by the outside world. In May 2010, multiple radionuclide and noble gas stations in East Asia picked up traces of various radionuclides that have been interpreted as a release from a nuclear test. But some of those radionuclides have never been detected before in the history of the International Monitoring System, and the possible source became the subject of controversy. Seismic analysis published in January 2015 seems to support the idea that it was a nuclear test. But it's important to note that the radionuclide noble gas component of the monitoring system detected something contemporaneously that the waveform detection methods missed at that time, said a report posted on the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists. This report echoes a similar claim made by Lars Erik de Geer, an atmospheric scientist with the Swedish Defense Research Agency, dating back to 2012. Keep up with more news from the region by following Asia News Weekly on Facebook or Twitter. You can send an email to the show with your questions, your comments, and your feedback. Just drop a line to podcast@asiannewsweekly.net. Subscribe to this and other podcasts at AsiaNewsWeekly.net or in your favorite podcast application like iTunes or Stitcher. Subscribing is free, and when you do, the next episode is delivered automatically to you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your friends. Thank you so much for listening today. For the Asia Brief, I'm Steve Miller.